Welcome back. Let's take up the remaining multiple choice questions on the neural coordination and control. Now, the questions from 26 onwards will be on neuron as structural and functional unit of neural system. Let's read out the question. The given figure shows the structure of a neuron. Select the option that correctly identifies the part labeled as A to E. Look at the diagram there. A is labeling to the dendrite, B the cell body or cyton, then C is pointing to the myelin sheath or Schwann cell, then D to the node of Ranvier, and E to the axon ending. Now let us find out the right option. So we have seen that it was starting with the dendrite, then cyton, then Schwann cell, node of Ranvier, and synaptic node or the axon ending. Therefore, B is the right answer. Question number 27. Myelin sheath is formed by A. Ranvier cells, B. muscle cells, C. Schwann cells, and D. axons. So what is the right answer? Yes, it is Schwann cell. That makes up the myelin sheath. Question number 28. In a medullated nerve fiber, the conduction of impulse is faster due to the presence of. We know that medullated nerve fibers or myelinated neurons are faster in conducting the neural impulses because of two reasons. Mainly, one is they are insulated by the myelin sheath, which will not allow the leakage of the electric signal, and as because only at the node of Ranvier there is no myelin sheath, so the conduction of impulse is such that it appears as if it is jumping from one node of Ranvier to the another. So therefore, here C will be the right answer. A is Pericytes, B Endoneurium and perineurium, C myelin sheath and nodes of Ranvier, and D Nessels granules. We know that Nessels granules are present inside the cytoplasm of the nerve cell, which are derived from the endoplasmic reticulum, and they are responsible for production of the microtubules. Pericytes are the cells which are in the surrounding vicinity. Then Endoneurium and epineurium are the connective tissue layers which are found in a nerve. Endoneurium in between the nerve fibers, and epineurium surrounding a nerve. Okay, so therefore here C is the right answer. Question number 29. Read the given paragraph. In the resting state, the axonal membrane, that is the plasma membrane of the axon, is number one. What it is you have to find out is number one, with more two charged ions outside than inside. So that means during the resting state, we know that the axonal membrane outside will be positive. It is, we call it as the polarized membrane. It is polarized and it will have more positive charged ions outside. And this unequal distribution of ions is due to one, the selective permeability of the membrane, which forms an almost impermeable barrier to, so which ions are not allowed to enter at the resting phase, that is, the sodium ions are not allowed to enter, and the action, the second, is the action of the number 4 there, which pumps, number 5, sodium ions out of the neuron for every 6. That is what it is you have to find out. Potassium brought in. Now, what should be at the Roman 4, 5 and 6? We know that the sodium-potassium pump, that is 4, which will be pumping 3 sodium ions outside and taking in 2 potassium ions. So now the idea is clear. Let us take up the options, select the options that correctly fill the blanks in the paragraph. So the membrane outside will be polarized. It is positively charged, and sodium ions are not allowed to enter. Sodium-potassium pump is sending out 3 sodium ions and taking in 2 potassium. So D is the right option here. Question number 30. A nerve fiber during resting stage is A. More permeable to sodium ions, more permeable to potassium ions, equally permeable for sodium and potassium ions, and D. Less permeable to potassium ions. We know that during the resting stage, when the resting potential is set, outside it is more positive because the sodium ions have been pumped out. So to just balance the loss of ions, some of the potassium ions will be entering inside the neurons. So therefore it will be more permeable to potassium ions. It will not allow sodium ions to come inside because entry of the sodium ion inside means it is action potential. Now the nerve is in resting potential. So therefore B is the right answer. Which of the following options illustrates the distribution of sodium and potassium ions in a section of non-myelinated axon, which is at resting potential? Again, resting potential you have to imagine. So A is showing the positive charges outside and potassium ions, that is sodium ions, high outside and high potassium ion inside, that is wrong. Then the sodium ions outside but negative is shown, that's also wrong. Then sodium high outside, so the positively charged potential we see outside, inside negatively charged, that is correct, and low potassium ions inside. So C will be the right answer. Question number 23. Sodium potassium pump transports. What it transports? Yes, we know that it transports the potassium ions into the neuron and sodium out of the neuron. So therefore, option D is the right answer. Question number 33. In the resting state of the neural membrane, diffusion due to concentration gradient, if allowed, would drive which ions where? We have to find out. A. Calcium ions into the cell, potassium and sodium ions out of the cell, sodium ions into the cell, sodium ions outside the cell. We know that already in the resting potential, the sodium ions are outside the membrane of the axon or outside the neural membrane. Okay, and there are more number of sodium ions outside, and inside very less number of sodium ions. So what happens? the gradient of sodium ions is there. It is more outside. So naturally, if we allow the ions to move along the concentration gradient, definitely sodium ions will be entering into the axon through the neural membrane. So C will be the right option. Question number 34. Which of the following statements are correct regarding sodium-potassium pump? 1. Needs energy ATP to work. That is correct because the pumping of the sodium ions out is a way of active transport. It is by way of active transport this is being done. So ATP energy is needed. Then expels 3 sodium ions for every 2 potassium ions imported. That's also correct. Works against a concentration gradient. That's also true because active transport, and maintains resting potential. So all these are correct options, correct statements given about the functioning of sodium-potassium pump. So D will be the right answer, all of these. Question number 35. The electrical potential difference between outside and inside of a nerve axon before excitation is known as. That is, before the stimulus strikes, before excitation. Of course, before excitation, the neuron will be a resting potential. A is the right answer. Question number 36. A typical value of resting membrane potential is. So, at the resting axon, during the resting period, if you see, the resting potential is minus 70 millivolts. So B is the right answer. Now we'll look into the diagram which shows the changes in the potential. Now we see that minus 70 on the graph below 0, which is minus 70, that is showing the resting potential. Okay, when the neuron is resting. Then when there is a stimulus striking at the neuron, what happens is the membrane potential increases above 0 and it reaches the maximum 30 plus 30, that is. So that is how the depolarization is the reason for that. And we know that at plus 30 millivolts, the action potential is taking place. And then again, repolarization takes place. So that is how the membrane potential comes down again below 0, and some more information are there in this diagram. 55 minus 55 is a threshold level of the membrane potential needed for any kind of action taking place. Okay, the stimulus should be at the threshold level, and then sometimes the membrane potential goes below 70 degrees. That is called as the hyperpolarization, and then the minus 70 millivolt level is the resting membrane potential, which is maintained unless and until there is stimulus striking the nerve. Question number 37. Complete the following paragraph by selecting the option that gives correct sequence of words. What is the correct sequence and what about which concept is here? Let us see. When a stimulus is applied at a site on the polarized membrane, the membrane at that side becomes freely permeable too. Which ions we have to say? And it causes rapid influx of which ions, leading to number 3, that is what of the membrane. So we see that when a stimulus is striking at a site on the polarized membrane, the membrane at that site becomes freely permeable to sodium ions. That means sodium ions start entering inside the neuron. It causes rapid influx, means entry of again sodium ions, leading to what happens to the membrane? Depolarization of the membrane. So therefore, here option D will be right. Sodium and depolarization. Question number 38. During the depolarization, the outer membrane of or the outer surface of the membrane becomes, during depolarization, as we know, the outer surface of the membrane will become negatively charged, as because the sodium ions, the positively charged ions, enter inside the axon. Question number 39. Depolarization of axolemma. Axolemma is nothing but the plasma membrane of axon. Depolarization of the axolemma during nerve conduction takes place because of what you have to say. There are 4 options given here. Equal amount of sodium and potassium ions move out across the axolemma. No, only sodium move inside. Only sodium ions move inside. More sodium ions move inside. None of these. So here you will be confused with only sodium ions and more sodium ions move inside. Now we know that potassium ions keep moving in and out as and when it is required to maintain a kind of equilibrium in the levels of the ion. But what actually happening during the depolarization is more number of sodium ions will be entering inside. So C will be the right answer. Question number 40. During the propagation of a nerve impulse, the action potential results from the movement of. So why the action potential is taking place? What is the fact behind? A. Potassium ion from intracellular fluid, means in between the cells, intracellular fluid, to extracellular fluid. Sorry, intracellular means inside the cell. Inside the cell. So intracellular fluid to extracellular fluid outside the cell. That is the A option. B. Sodium ions from extracellular, that is outside the cell, from that fluid to intracellular fluid. Movement of the sodium ions from the extracellular fluid into intracellular fluid, that is into the cytoplasm of the axon. So that is the right answer, because positive ions move inside at the action potential. So B should be the right answer. Question number 41. During the transmission of nerve impulse through a nerve fiber, the potential on the inner side of the plasma membrane has which type of electric charges? Now, during the transmission of nerve impulse, means you have to imagine that the nerve impulse is moving along the axon. So what are the changes taking place? So in the beginning, we know that inside it will be, see here, inner side of the plasma membrane, that is inside the cytoplasm of the axon. So that means first it will be negative because resting, and then when the depolarization takes place, in that area the surface membrane is depolarized. That means the positive charges enter inside. So negative changes to positive, and then when the action potential moves ahead, what happens is, again, the sodium ions will be pumped out, and negative charges will be or negative potential will be again regained. So that's why the D will be right answer here. First negative, then positive, and again back to negative. Question number 42. Saltatory conduction of impulse occurs in. Now, saltatory you might have studied. You might be remembering that the jumping movement, what we see in a myelinated neuron when the action potential is taking place, when nerve impulse is moving, we see that it appears as if it is jumping from one node of Ranvier to another node of Ranvier, because wherever there is a covering, insulation of the myelin sheath, the conduction will be fast, and wherever it is not having the myelin sheath cover that, so there it will be slightly slow. So as if it is, halting there and again moving very fast. So it appears as jumping from one node of Ranvier to another node of Ranvier. So that is taking place in the myelinated nerve fibers only. So therefore it is C, the right option. Question number 43. Read the given statement and select the correct ones. Now let us see what are the statements given. The question continues into the next slide. Autonomic neural system transmits impulses from the central nervous system to the voluntary organs and striated muscles of the body. So that is wrong, because we see here central nervous system is being taken up here. Autonomic nervous system is in connection with the peripheral nerves, right? Peripheral nervous system, not with the central nervous system directly. So that is wrong statement. Then second, unmyelinated, that is non-myelinated nerve fiber, do not have Schwann cells which form the myelin sheath on neuron. There's a very important concept here. Even the non-myelinated or unmyelinated nerve fibers do have the covering of the Schwann cells, but these Schwann cells are not filled with or not enriched with the phospholipids. They are flat, thin cells without the phospholipids. So therefore there is no formation of myelin sheath. Okay, so unmyelinated or non-myelinated nerve fibers do not have Schwann cells is given here. That is wrong. Schwann cells will be there, but these Schwann cells do not contain the store of the phospholipids. So these two statements are wrong. Let's look into the other statements. Statement number 3. Axonal membrane of a neuron, while not conducting any impulse, is comparatively more permeable to potassium ions than the sodium ions. That is true. Potassium ions can be moving inside, but sodium ions cannot move inside when it is in the resting potential. Okay, that is not conducting any impulses. So that statement is correct. Then statement number 4, a synapse is formed by the membranes of a pre-synaptic neuron and a post-synaptic neuron. So that's also right. It may be post-synaptic neuron, or it may be a muscle there. So in between these two, there will be the cleft or synaptic or synaptic cleft will be there. So therefore, number 3 and number 4 are the correct statements. Question number 44. The junction between the axon of one neuron and dendrite of the next called as. So what is that? Yes, it is synapse only. Here the options given are constant bridge, junction point, joint, and synapse. It is called as synapse. Question number 45. Which of the following statements is or are incorrect about the electrical synapse? You might have studied about the electrical synapse. It's a kind of synapse. Again, there's a connection between two neurons, right? The axon endings of one and the dendrites of the another neuron are in connection, but the synaptic cleft is very, very narrow here. Okay, so therefore there is no need of any chemical or neurotransmitter. Okay, so directly the electrical signals from one neuron to another neuron will be passed on. So keep in mind this concept, and let's read out this statement. At electrical synapse, the membranes of pre and post-synaptic neurons are in very close proximity. So statement number 1 is correct. You have to find out here which is incorrect. At electrical synapse, the membranes of pre and post-synaptic neurons are in very close proximity. Then second, electrical current can flow directly from one neuron into the another through synapse. That's also true. Then third, transmission of an impulse across electrical synapse is very similar to impulse conduction along single axon, because it is just the movement of the positively charged ions, so like that of the conduction. The statement number 4 is electrical synapses pass electrical signals between cells with the use of ACH, that is acetylcholine. So this is a wrong statement, because when we say it is electrical synapse, there is no room for the neurotransmitter. So the incorrect statement is number 4. Let us take up the fifth one. Electrical synapses are fast. That is correct. Electrical synapses pass on the impulses very fast. So only the fourth statement is incorrect. So that's the right answer, C. Okay. Question number 46. Nerve fibers transmit the nerve message by dash, means you have to say by which means. By dash means, which means A, chemical, B, physical, C, electrochemical, and D, electrical. It is electrochemical means by which the nerve fibers are able to transmit the impulses. Okay, it is called as electrochemical. Question number 47. A list of events occurring in the transmission of nerve impulse across the synapse is given below in a random order. Now let us read out the statements given there. Opening of specific ion channels allows the entry of ions. A new action potential is generated in the post-synaptic neuron. So we see that this is after the synaptic transmission. Okay, so it will not be in the beginning. Then a neurotransmitter binds to the receptor on post-synaptic membrane. So this happens after the release of the neurotransmitters, when the action potential has reached the pre-synaptic knob. Then third, synaptic vesicles fused with pre-synaptic membrane, neurotransmitter released into synaptic cleft. That is just before that second statement. So before the receptor, the neurotransmitter could reach the receptor, it has to be released. No, so in order to release, synaptic vesicles fused with the presynaptic membrane. So it appears that it is in reverse order given here. Let's take up the remaining ones. Fourth statement, depolarization of the presynaptic membrane. It happens when the action potential reaches to the presynaptic knob. Then 5, arrival of action potential at axon terminal. So that means now which of the following options represent these events in a correct order? So here the correct order, if you see, we have to start from the statement 5 and go to the upper statements there, which is, that means in reverse way, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. So option A is correct. Question number 48. The given diagram shows axon terminal. Select the option that correctly matches the steps in transmission of impulses. List 1 to 8 is given there. The labeling A to C in diagram we have to look into. A is the vesicles which are filled with the neurotransmitter. So synaptic vesicles they are called as. And B is pointing to the released molecules of acetylcholine chemicals. And C is pointing to the channels or the receptors for the neurotransmitter. So let us take up the statements given there. Chemicals called neurotransmitters are released in the synaptic cleft through ion channels. When an impulse arrives at the axon terminal, it stimulates the movement of synaptic vesicles. Then neurotransmitters are endocytosed into the neuron, that is in the post-synaptic neuron. Then the ion channels close with the binding of neurotransmitter to their specific receptor vesicle. Synaptic vesicles move towards the membrane where they fuse with the plasma membrane. Neurotransmitters are released in the synaptic cleft. The released transmitters bind to their specific receptors on post-synaptic membrane. So many steps are given here, but only 3 steps are mentioned in the options there, A, B, C. And we have seen in the diagram A, B, and C. A, we know that it is the synaptic vesicle. B, the chemical neurotransmitter. And C, receptors or ion channels. Now, if we read the statement, which so many statements are given, so 3 statements only we have to choose here. C will be the right answer. So the statement 2, 6, and 7 are correct. Let's see what is the number 2 statement. When an impulse arrives at the axon terminal, it stimulates the movement of synaptic vesicles. Correct? That is, A is labeling to the synaptic vesicle. And then 6, that is, neurotransmitters are released in the synaptic cleft. That's also true. The B label is showing the release of neurotransmitters. And then the next 7 is the released transmitter bind to their specific receptors on post-synaptic membrane. So those receptors are mentioned, labeled there as C. So therefore, right option is 2, 6 and 7. Is that clear? Okay, let's go to the next question. The given diagram shows axon terminal and synapse. Here A, B, C, D and E respectively represent. So in this diagram of the synaptic cleft, pre-synaptic knob and the post-synaptic membrane, all the labelings are given, so you have to find out in correct order. A, that is the axon terminal, you can say. B, synaptic vesicle. Then C, the neurotransmitter or the synaptic cleft, you can say, that area where the neurotransmitters are released, synaptic cleft, C. D, those are the ion channels on which the receptors for neurotransmitters are located, D. And E is labeling to the molecules of neurotransmitters. So we know that it should start with axon terminal A and it should end with the neurotransmitters. Let's see. Option A, axon terminal, synaptic cleft. B is not synaptic cleft, that is the synaptic vesicle, so A is not correct. B, axon terminal, synaptic vesicle, yes, then synaptic cleft, receptors and neurotransmitters. So B is the right option. Question number 50. Which one of the following does not act as a neurotransmitter? Options are A, cortisone, B, acetylcholine, C, dopamine, and D, norepinephrine. If you look at these options, acetylcholine, dopamine, and norepinephrine, these are the neurotransmitters, whereas cortisone is a steroid hormone. So therefore, the A should be the right answer, which will not act as neurotransmitter. So with this, the 50 questions, that is from question number 26 to 50 we have taken up in the list of the questions. Up to 50 questions we have solved. The next remaining 25 questions I will take up in the next video lecture. So till then, bye.